Hi, my name is Bob Greenyer and I'm a volunteer with the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project. So thank you for waiting, all those that did. This is What is O? And I have a t-shirt on I wore many moons ago and for many experiments. And this is the, as I said in ASTI a long time ago, this is the last gasp of the old fire, and it's smoke rings and toroidally going up and until we get to this. So okay, so yeah, I was going to do this earlier in the week. In fact, I was going to do it earlier today, but at 6:28 today, right as I was actually authoring a slide to go through, which is taken off that sound procession link that I gave you, I had something sent to me by John Hutchison. And I've talked about similar concepts before, but it was one of those moments of synchronicity that I could not ignore. So if you just bear with me, I'm going to get the presentation up, change my the sound so things can go through, and also I'm going to get my mouse that's a little bit bigger so that people can see it and so that I can actually control it. Can you let me know if you can hear me? That would be useful whilst I'm fiddling in the background. Just let me know. How can you send clips? Just send me a, this is Numatech Prototype is asking how can you send me clips. Send me a request for contact on quantumheat.org through the contact form there, and I will get back to you. It'll reach me. Okay. Hopefully everything loads up as it should. To be honest, I was a little bit knackered and I didn't know whether I could do something for you guys tonight, but I did say I would, so I have to keep my commitments, don't I? Okay. And then just the audio fold back. Put the earphones in so you don't hear the audio double. That is just annoying. Oh, and I left them. Oops. Oh well. It's like you haven't got an audio today. Okay. So we'll turn that off for now. And I'll have to just check when I'm showing something to you. Okay. Not got a lot of videos today. Okay, hopefully that will work. One last thing. I will change the... thank you for being patient. I don't want that. I don't want that at all. I want this. Okay. There we go. Comedy cursor. All right. Yeah, not very loud. Okay, am I a bit quiet today, am I? It might just be because I'm muttering to myself. I can turn the audio up, but if scream if it's too loud. I'll just make sure it doesn't clip. Okay, is that better for you? No, this is not O Day. This is, what is it? What is O? It's not O Day. A third of O Day slides were shared in Sochi 2018. Up till a couple of months ago, I had shared the balance of about 50%, and I'm starting to go through the other 50%. But I think we're at a point now where we have a level of evidence that we can at least get through the concept of what is O. And I promised that I would do this without a single equation. And this whole process from the beginning of 2018, but we shall go ahead. So, what is it? What is O? Okay, so this image was taken from site. I have the reference in the slides, but the site had this image up there at the end of 2017, and it doesn't have it there anymore. But this is a spider web in the desert with a wonderful dewdrop in the center. And this was actually taken off a Muslim site, and it was talking about a famous story from the Quran where Muhammad, as I understand it, was in danger, and he hid himself in a cave, and a spider weaved a web so that it protected Muhammad from his danger. And when I saw this in 2017, I thought it was a wonderful representation of the vortex going into the center and the condensation of matter at the core. And as it's going down, you're getting increasing intensity and intensity and intensity, and then the final condensation, and there's other condensates as it goes down on the inside. So I thought this was a wonderful analogy for what we're doing. And this is actually O-Day slide 21, as it happens. In January 2015, we had the pleasure, with the support of the crowd, to visit Francesco Piantelli upon his invite. In fact, we've tried to see him for a number of years, but we hadn't had any luck. And then just out of the blue, he invited us. So the community came together. And one of the things that stood out for me, and it was a moment of change in my approach to this science, was don't tell nature what it is, let nature speak to you. And it really, really stuck in my head. And this is O-Day slide 2. And so I thought many of the research, or much of the research that I had seen, had been kind of just trying to describe what nature is in equations and in hypothesis. But I didn't see a lot of showing me that hypothesis could be seen in actual real things that you could observe. And so this really, really stuck with me. And the other thing that I thought of when I was there was that there was a terrorist, so-called terrorist event in Paris. You may remember it. During our time there, it was on the Tuesday into the Wednesday. And that Wednesday, we had a very, very difficult time with Francesco. He basically said that he didn't believe humans deserved this. It was a bit of a weird thing to say. But he said he didn't believe humans were ready or deserved to have this technology. And so that got me thinking that, there's more to this technology than just energy. And so he wanted to do something different. So he took us to a facility which was for cancer treatment. And it used resonant intense magnetic fields for treating of cancer. And we actually had to go and sat on the machines. And there's actually pictures, and I've shared some media about this in the past. But it kind of like came from the same mind. And I'm thinking, what are the chances that these kind of technologies are linked? Intense magnetism, being able to correct genetic abnormalities in the body, and low energy nuclear reactions. And I thought, oh my, if this is able to do these two things, what else can it do? And if this does become widely available for humanity, it's going to completely change everything. Absolutely. Now, those phrases are said a lot when it's the slightly more battery on your phone or the slightly larger number of pixels on your TV set. And say, oh, it's going to change everything. No, this is going to change everything. And it dawned on me that there's going to be unimaginable upheaval. And that the sentiment that he had given, that he didn't know whether humans deserved this and or could be trusted with it, it led me think that could be a mindset where people that do discover this realize its unimaginable significance, and they just decide that they are the ones to decide that people can't deal with it, and because it will disrupt everything, the energy infrastructure, the medical infrastructure, the travel infrastructure, the transport infrastructure, the production infrastructure. There's almost an area, I think I said in the beginning of 2017, there's almost an area, no area of human industry where, just if you just take the energy side of it, but it's much, much broader than that, where it wouldn't be so disruptive that it would be the biggest change. It would be a complete evolution in technology and an evolution in what we can do as a species. And that was before I realized we'd already done it before, but that's another thing. So that got me thinking of a quote that I'd put on a website called Homosymbion, which I'd bought the domain homosymbion.com in 2017. And the quote was often misquoted by Charles Darwin. And it is this: "It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change." And that's it. Can we survive through the change of the realization of this technology? So, without much further ado, or much ado about nothing, no, joking. What is O? What is O? Well, I have said, in a basic roundabout way, what O is. Now, I reserve the right to adjust what's on this slide, but this is the slide, O Day 4, from the beginning of 2018. And you can see number 1 point is, it's implosion, not explosion technology. Victor Schauberger was right. Or Schauberger. I reserve the right to say that it is not just implosion, it's rebirth. So as Takaaki Matsumoto, it's nuclear regeneration is one aspect of it. It isn't all of the aspect of it, but it's also, in a way, creation. It's creating things out of things that are really not in our material realm. So it can actually capture, and that's my point lower down the page. For me, whatever the technology is, regardless, my focus there is radioactive isotope remediation. So for me, that's the number one priority. And then beyond that, and related to it, is element synthesis. And that isn't just element transmutation. That is synthesis. That is starting from raw energy and making elements. Or microleptons, or any form of energy in whatever way you can get it, and synthesizing condensed matter or dense matter for our needs and the organisms that we are in symbiosis with. Take E.T. back home. Who is E.T.? Are we E.T.? What is the missing link? So, related to the element synthesis is the idea of unlimited energy at any point in the universe. Because if you need to drive a process and you have a certain amount of payload and you convert that payload into something else, you need to be able to bring on board more matter. And if you're in a vessel that's traveling and you need to, for instance, build extra units as the population on your traveling vessel travels, you need to capture more energy and synthesize more matter. And I believe that this technology can do that. And these are not things that I came up with. These are things that Ken Shoulders was, fairly clear about. What I think we have demonstrated, and from what I've heard from what the Russians have seen, and I'll do a separate presentation on one key aspect of that tells you a lot of what you need to know to that point. But I believe this is the tool that will give us unlimited energy at any point in the universe. Obviously, particle and light beams. And when I wrote this, I obviously, in late 2017 into 2018, I wasn't aware of the concept of coherent matter. Really, for me, that started to be born much later. And really, it was crystallized after reading in September the Lockheed Martin coherent matter wave patent. And the simplicity, and it's just so obvious when you hear it, it just explains why these systems can do the same thing, but all different kinds of temperatures. And it is much, much more. And fundamentally, at its core, is nature. That might be a bold statement. It's one I feel. It's at least what nature wants to do at every opportunity. Nature is in a state of incredible variation. Ordinarily, every single atom is, for the most part, at a different energy, kinetic energy, and so forth. It's not precisely the same as its neighbor. But when you cohere the matter, it becomes something completely different. And when you cohere a lot of matter, it wants to change and rebirth everything. Everything that's in that cohered blob, when it gets to a certain critical size, it wants to restart, have another go. And so it's the nature of nature, if you know what I mean. And so when Victor Schauberger was thinking about these concepts, and I'm not an expert on him, but I think he was really onto something. And it is like death and new life. It's the yin and yang. It's the beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning. One follows the other. So then I started thinking about a different approach to doing the research. And it's like, well, if you have an idea, or someone else has an idea, and you want to explore it, well, there's so many mountains in the way of doing this. You have to try and find like-minded people that can make it happen. And so I took a tip from Matthew 7:7. And it's not just about asking people, but asking the universe. Just asking the Akashic record, the spirit realm, whatever. I don't mean seancing. I mean just opening yourself up and asking. And so I thought, well, this is a phrase I want to read. I know it's a Sunday for those in the Christian world. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. So I kind of took the approach of not trying to tell nature what it is, asking nature to show me what it is. And then this phrase from the interview between Ken Shoulders in 2010 and John Hutchison, where he said, it's so easy not to find stuff, and you won't even know what you didn't find. And that was it. That phrase, when I was doing that transcription a few years back, I thought, this is the problem. People are only looking for tritium and neutrons because they're expecting it to be standard fusion. The rules were changed in 1994 in fusion technology, so that if you weren't really talking about producing helium and seeing tritium, then you couldn't really get your paper published on cold fusion in one of the only journals that was actually publishing it. So you were putting, and this was Takaaki Matsumoto's letter to the editor complaining around that time, after he couldn't publish again, in a typically Japanese understated way, that essentially this was excluding all evidence that wasn't evidence that was saying this is a kind of an equivalent to a hot fusion. It was kind of like it was setting the rules of the game where you couldn't possibly share any useful information. And so, because tritium was very hard to see, because you can have molecules that are the same weight, and three heliums basically the same weight, and both of them are very small and hard to contain, and you're looking for very small amounts. It's going to be difficult. And then neutrons, well, if you're trying to do research where the goal is to try and find neutrons, well, neutrons can kill you. So that automatically puts a lot of people off. And so it was rigged. It was rigged. I'll say it. It was rigged. And so that phrase, when I heard Ken talking about that in late 2016, coming into 2017, I was starting to familiarize myself with the work of Ken Shoulders in 2016. I thought, I've got to completely look at stuff, because for the evidence that you see in a live experiment, you only get to see what you do, and you might not be doing anything useful. But there is a plethora of evidence out there in historical experiments that are available for people to research. And with what Philip Power has done on the LENR events database now, you can search that like no time before in LENR history. And so you go to nanosoft.co.nz, and you go to the LENR events on the top. There's a little link, and you go in there, and you can do this. And in that rich data set, there are common synthesized elements, there are common findings, there are common temperatures, and so you could you have to go and look. So that was that, and then I like. This was on 23rd of January 2018. John Hutchison sent me this comment here with this photo here. And it says, Ken Shoulders, 1997, at Linda McLean's house, Los Angeles, with Dr. Rauscher and Yin Gazida, Henry Darkin, Prince of Liechtenstein, NASA, Larry King, and CNN. They had 1 month-long talks hosted by Star Trek folks who took some of us to their studios. And as far as I understand, it was kind of like, what do we say this technology can do in our science fiction, so that in the future, people are ready for it, type thing. And some people call this predictive programming, but it happens, okay? So I'm just going to quickly go through my personal journey, just to give credit to the people that brought this to a head. So personally, in 1989, I had disbelief that Martin Fleischmann and Stanley Pons would discredit themselves. In 2011, Andrea Rossi bold claims, they led to the formation of the MFMP at ICCF 17. All 5 founders of the MFMP were first-time visitors to ICCF, and we'd all gone because of the theatre of Andrea Rossi. So whether he delivers or not, it was because of his theatre that we went to see if there was any truth to the matter and formed the MFMP. At the conference in 2012, Yuji Bajitov said, "Look at this, we found new kinds of material." And it was a moment to me. It rings in my head, and they found something, and it was new kinds of material, like not standard stuff, and it was like this blue glowing glassy stuff, and that was very inspirational. And we obviously worked with the great Francesco Celani, and he shared his technology with us in 2013, and he found nanodiamonds growing on his copper and constantan wire. So it's copper and nickel, I think, constantan wire. And the fact that diamonds were growing on there, it was that gave me the insight to suggest using industrial abrasives. And Lion was the first researcher, and it was actually in January of January, I think, of 2013 that I suggested that as a reaction matrix. And the first person to do that was Lion in 2017. And so thank you to Lion for doing that. But 2012 to 2014, we did replications of Celani's wires, and Hunt Utilities Group did a great amount of work on that and invested a huge amount of money. Matthew Velat and the so-called gamma experience, which I believe is small EVOs blowing up when you destabilize them, when you put fresh hydrogen in, and you get strange radiation out, which are quanta of EVOs. And now I understand from Sochi 2018 that every time you get some prepared nickel hydrogen and you got it at the right temperature and you put fresh hydrogen in, you get a burst of strange radiation. So and that event was what triggered EarthTech Texas to contact us for the first time and said, "Can we help you?" Anyway, and then thank you to Nicholas Chauvin. In 2014, Stoyan Sarg, I had the pleasure of hosting him, and he gave me some good understanding about vacuum energy. And in 2015, Francesco Piantelli, the fact that he was being burned on the arm by something coming through his glass pass-through, and the difference between the fermion and boson, those are two key things. And it was a lot of discussion about that event where he just turned on his reactor and something came through the glass pass-through and burnt him on his shoulder. That is what, at the time, we were talking about, oh, this must be coherent radiation. It must be emitting coherent light. And so that's the first time that the concept of coherence came in to the project's thinking. And in 2015, Alexander Parkhomov's decades-long discovery of gravity's ability to focus background neutrinos, known to be as abundant in mass as stars in the universe. In fact, as I understand it, all of the solid matter in the universe, there's as much relic neutrinos. And actually, relic neutrinos are essentially all at the same temperature. They're all the same thing, either neutrinos or antineutrinos. And they are through the entire universe. And so if you have something which is at the same temperature and it is literally everywhere, other people, not me, but other people have said that the entire universe is filled with a coherent mass of cold neutrinos. Now, you can have an alpha particle and an alpha particle cohered on top of each other, right? That is a condensate of two alpha particles. But in that same space, you could have a trillion. So even in the coherent mass of the universe, of this, wherever you are in the universe, there will be cold neutrinos, and they are at least as much mass as all of the solid matter that you can see, including all the stars. Then in some places, there will be a denser condensate. And in other places, it will be less dense, but it's still a condensate. And so you can imagine, and the whole point behind Alexander Parkhomov's book, Space, Earth, Human, is that gravitational bodies lens this material. So it's like you're taking more of a condensate and packing it into a beam. So you can imagine feeder beams between stars, and stars feeding out this coherent matter to planets. And this is exactly what he is saying is occurring in his book. And because it's a coherent matter, it means that if you can introduce an interaction with that matter, then all points in the universe should know of that interaction instantaneously. Instantaneously. So there shouldn't really be any propagation time because it's all one coherent body through the entire universe. And in a way, it can, any influence on it, which any electron can influence it, then it's recorded in that material. So you could almost think as the Akashic record as a super database in the cold neutrino condensate, which if you get in tune to it, you can basically extract any information that anyone has, or any organism has ever thought about at any point in the universe. So that's interesting. And also, if you, for instance, had a star up in heaven, the information from a star, a celestial event, would reach you through the neutrino condensate far faster than the light would. Which means if you are sensitive to this, you could predict that there would be a star in the heavens, like a supernova, that would glow brightly. And you might even know the duration that it would glow brightly. You might even know the track of it if you were sensitive enough to this. Glow stick research with Alan Goldwater, Ryan Hunt, and me 356 signal. The signal that we had was absolutely critical to find what I believe is a coherent matter condensate, an exotic vacuum object in the neutral form. And at the moment, my best guess is that blew up in our sodium iodide thallium dope detector, and that has currently reached the destination with the party who is looking to try and disassemble it, and believes that they have a method of finding out whether some of the thallium-205 had a beta decay forced by the cold neutrino condensate to lead-205. And if that's the case, then we're very close to a slam dunk on this. But anyway, thank you to Brian Alverston and Skip. And George Eagley's studies of ball lightning were absolutely critical. Understanding that in 2016, that huge body of work of his was totally critical. So then I had the pleasure of getting to know John Hutchison and his effect. And again, Kenneth Shoulders, really learning about exotic vacuum objects. My inter-reactions with Norris Peary and learning about Stanislav Adasmenko's research. And then my interactions with Judy Woods and Andrew Johnson. Their fearless research really showed what can happen with this technology. And bearing in mind, I'd realized this before I'd either spoken to either of them, and I've got a little story to tell on that. And then David Hudson's monatomic research. At the time that I was reading this, I had no idea that he had had this event with the tungsten. That came later. And then Suhas Ralkar's ultrasonic research, and then Lion Nova. And by the end of 2017 and into early 2018, I had a realization that whatever this is, it's definitely not an invention. It's a realization. And it is a realization of what is possible, and it cannot be owned. It cannot be owned. It was already clear to me that all of the work that was necessary to do this had already been done, and it had been done many times. And then there is the archaeological record. This is a birthright for humanity. It may even have been how we got here. So, with that, I will give another Matthew reference. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Matthew 11:15. So before I jump off into this, does anyone have any comments? Anyone having that? WP for truth, it is Pandora's box. This is Pandora's box. As far as I understand it, there's nothing after this. And I will, at the end of this presentation, I will say what I have personally called this technology since the last day in February 2017. This is Pandora's box. It's already been opened, and at the moment they're going to try and pretend. Anyway, the aim is just to control us, and they definitely don't want us to know that the technology has been rediscovered. I call them party tricks. There's a lot of party tricks going on right now. Anyway. Gardy Pierre, I will talk about this in more detail. He says we might witness a space gold rush and fifth industrial revolution and second Enlightenment era. You're going to. This is a Darwinian moment, and we must make sure that they don't decide for us who gets to experience this new world, and that we are all aware of this technology so that we can all benefit from it. The best way to create elements is not to do little lab experiments. It's literally to build solar systems. And I will deal with that another time. But go and have a look at my Sochi presentation on the Orion Nebula and think about that for a while. Well, thank you, W, for truth. I'm really looking forward to see what you have. Shockwave, yes. Yes, it's creation. It's also complete destruction. It's both sides of the coin. We are taking back what is ours. This is our birthright. It is the universe. It is what is possible. And we have been, the information has been suppressed, and we're stuck breaking stones, as my brother says. It's just stuck breaking stones. Yes, we need to work together. Gardy, I'm going to talk through again just a little bit to do with zero-point energy. Hopefully, the concept will be clear here. There's work that the Russians are doing. I don't know whether they've intended to make it available, but I have it. And it's a good thing, a good approach to think about. But there's much more hidden energy in matter than I think is at least taught, and we can access it. Shockwave, I don't think there are subatomic particles, just waves in the ether. Waves can be closed. They can be closed in on themselves. So yes, there's still waves in the ether, but then they have locality. We can produce black holes. I'm pretty sure we can travel forward in time. I don't have a way to travel backwards in time, and I will talk about traveling forward in time. Dan Moretti, exactly. You know how individual people can have enlightenment. I think this is a societal scale version of that process. It is if we can get the message out. And the only way we can get the message out really is for each and every one of you to have your O-Day. You absolutely have to get it. And you have to be open. You have to open your heart, your mind to the beauty and amazing thing that is our universe and consciousness. And you will get the information. You just have to it seems corny, but you kind of like have to try and be pure, and not be in a place of deep stress or something. If you're stressed and in fear, your mind, I don't think, is able to be open. I think you need to be, how do I say it? I've never done it, but you need to be meditating probably. You need to be on the wavelength of the Akashic record. For me, so Junie, for me, religion and technology do not match. Sorry. It's not about religion. A lot of the people that came up with these phrases, they're not necessarily weren't necessarily intended to become a religion. They were a realization in their own time with what they knew of the natural truth of the universe, and it was their best way of trying to get the message onto the next generation or onto the next level of realization. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to get across there. Akashic field access is backward time traveling. It kind of is, but what you're doing is you're seeing ghosts. You're seeing echoes. And, you know, I used to describe this when I was a teenager. Like, if I go like this and I hit the table, there will be an influence on the universe of both my intention and the effect on the universe for all eternity of that conscious act. Now, if someone is in tune with wanting to know that that happened, they will be able to know that the table was hit at a particular time, and the echo for that will travel all through time. So yes, it is kind of looking back in time. I think you can look backward in time, and you can pause and technically travel forward in time. Yeah, I find myself saying the word I a lot, and it's a problem because it is kind of associated with ego. But it's just a language issue, and I hope no one takes it too personally. Yes, WP for truth. These were stating axioms. Yes, that's kind of what I'm saying. Polygon. Yeah. A good comment, Dan Moretto, saying re again, ligio, ligament. That helps to have an Italian here with good understanding of Latin. My Latin wasn't that good, I'm afraid. To reconnect to our nature, yes. No. So WP for truth says, well put about religion, Bob, but our spirituality is different, I believe. I can tell you that in late 2017, I was a choir boy, and then I kind of went traveling around the world, and I realized most people aren't Christians, and I lost my faith from about the age of 18, 19 until 2017. And it was this science that gave me spirituality. This science gave me spirituality. Not a specific religion, but there is spirit in this science. And it's undeniable. I will show you a coincidence that is probably difficult for people to rationalize in this presentation, but it's one of many I've had. Yeah, Edgar Nelson, we do see ghosts constantly, yes. It is the present. It's terrible when you lose your short-term memory. Don't ever take a disassociative. Unless you want to do that. Yes, we can build a shield, Axel, from... he says we can build a shield that can protect us from any force that the universe can produce. Yeah, I said to Kim, it would just be so beautiful, because we were like... Kim's my wife. My love of my life. She was saying, oh, I would just wish this nonsense would end and I could travel and see my friends in Vietnam. And I said, yeah. And it was just, what's so crazy about this technology is if you knew how to use it, you could make yourself a shield and you could travel at nearly practically the speed of light, but certainly as the speed of normal communication through the planet, through the core, and come out the other side. And you wouldn't even know that you'd gone through gravitational changes. You wouldn't know that you'd gone through the core of the Earth or whatever. It wouldn't matter. Bob, you promised to come back to the energy source, the spark plug. Yeah, hold that thought. Thanks for the answer. Now. Yeah, not now, but sooner than later. That's an African phrase. Now. It means now, not now, but sooner than later. Yeah, there's a real problem with compartment. John Watson says probably because there's a compartmentalization of knowledge. Hi, Bob K. Okay, so at the moment I've just given an introduction. I'm going to start talking. And so the slide where I'm at, and I'll come back to you. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because the next slide is this, and it's talking about standing waves, longitudinal sound. And what you have is you have here you have a n lambda and a half, so you've got one wavelength, two wavelengths, and a half. Is that right? Half? It's quarter. It's a harmonic. But anyway, you've got the vibrations at the end here. It's not in a closed cavity. But anyway, so you've got a pumping source on this end, and it's sending longitudinal sound waves down here. And here is a symbolization of the sound wave travel, but of course it's longitudinal. And this is the pressure. And these here have 0 changes in pressure. And this is where you have the most displacement of whatever the particles are that your sound wave is traveling through, whether this is glass or aluminium or steel rebar, whatever. This is the least pressure. And on the 0 points here, where the standing waves have their nodes, then or is it nodes or antinodes? I'll tell you in a minute. You have the most pressure changes between positive and negative. And so I'm going to talk about a couple of things. And one is bubble structures in acoustic cavitation. And then 2, acoustically driven X-ray emission and matter collapse in lead. And these 2 presentations actually came out of submissions by people who've seen my recent presentations. So this one was from Peter in Japan, and I'm very sorry, but I can't remember the person who sent me this. I mean, can't remember immediately offhand. I'm very sorry. And then I'm going to look at an unimaginably amazing piece of data from a Mars gas versus tungsten. And this was an experiment that you can go and look at the video on YouTube. The actual experiment is a few tens of seconds long, and in that experiment something happened. Well, in fact, a lot of things happened, but I'm going to draw your attention to one feature. In fact, there's a number of features like this on the sample, but this one tells a very, very interesting story. And in my view, this, along with the many other aspects on the Mars gas treated with tungsten, it proves that probably HHO, but certainly a Mars gas and possibly Brown's gas, given the fact that you observe similar things with Brown's gas, can act as low-energy nuclear reactions in a tank and in a can, rather, as I call it, and I would call it coherent nuclear transmutations. Okay, so I'm just going to pull up the first of those presentations. Not presentations, but PDFs. Hopefully. Now, for those people that were waiting earlier in the evening, I asked them to go and have a look at that. So if you go and look at the comments above, the link is given to the online source for the first of the papers we're going to look at. Hopefully it's going to allow me to open the things I had opened before. Yes, good. Talk amongst yourselves. In the beginning, God said, "Let there be light." My dad used to say this to me when he woke me up in the morning, early in the morning, and he used to joke, and there was light, and you could see for miles, with a mild English swear word that is very sanguine. Okay, so let's see if this works. Ta-da. Can everyone see that? So this is bubble structures in acoustic cavitation. And this article is reporting on bubble structures that represent different manifestations of acoustic cavitation. General aspects relevant for structure formation in acoustic cavitation are discussed, and a classification scheme into prototypes is proposed. Characteristics and distributions of bubbles as well as sound field environments are reviewed for the different cavitation patterns. The study is mainly based on optical and high-speed imaging investigations and is confined to acoustic frequencies of the lower ultrasonic range. So this is the range that we are looking at in the ultra experiments, and we are going to get a high-speed camera, and hopefully we can expand upon the work that's done here. Anyway, we're just going to look at the pictures and a couple of the comments. But this is very informative. I haven't really read much of it, but the thing is, it has quite a few pictures of things that we've seen. So let's go and have a look at them. So here's the spiders here, and they saw two examples of filamentary streamer configurations, acoustic Lichtenberg figures. Now, it's funny, when I saw these things in Suhas Ralkar's lab, the first thing I thought of was Lichtenberg figures. So it goes to show that you can very rarely have an original thought. Anyway, so what they've done is they've inverted the color on that, and hopefully we can get some very, very high quality, high frame rate images of these things. And they actually say that they don't really know exactly why they form. They've done some computer modeling here and so forth. Then there's a little one down here with the streamer coming out. And you can see maybe there's some semi-regular nature to it. So that might be the ultrasonic frequency in their streamer of curve shape recording in scattered light at 25 kilohertz, exposure 0.3 milliseconds, inverted grayscales. But these are the things that I find most interesting. And the reason I find them most interesting is, one, is because they've actually admitting to their not being able to answer things. But we have a loop here, and we have another loop here, and it's like they're feeding each other. And this also looks like it's feeding each other. And these structures, they might just look like a single point, but they've got this sort of spiral galaxy look to them. And we know kind of what this means. We've got some material coming in here, and we've got material coming in here. And if we think about the lion cauliflower, you have one above and one below, and it's a magneto-hydrodynamic structure. And I think what's going on there is akin to that. But it's pulling it in from this way, which means it's spinning that way, and this is pulling it in from this way, and it kind of doesn't make sense until you think about it. Is kind of like they're spinning in one aspect, but spinning in the other aspect differently. Anyway, the point being is that these look like they're feeding each other, and they haven't been able to confirm that. However, we have seen material in our ultra experiments already disappearing from one of the node antinodes, whichever one it is, and then almost immediately appearing in a pair a little further down. So it kind of implies that they do feed each other, and there's some blue oceans of opportunity for people to talk about that. It says here it goes. It seems even possible to have closed rings when the end cluster or filament of one arc appears to feed another one, and vice versa. Now, these are with water and bubbles, but if you can imagine that the analog is with bubbles of matter, which is coherent, and it's got almost no dimension at all, could that no dimension matter move through matter and feed something else? And could these form larger chains? Certainly, it would appear from the ultra experiments we do see feeding of larger chains. So like I say, there's lots of opportunity here. For increased pressure, the ring structure can transform to the double layer structure, which is described in the next section. Double layers in hydrodynamics. The standing wave field is forming something like mountains where the bubbles try to reach the pressure amplitude peak, in contrast to a simple central antinode and a direct way upward like before. Here the wave pattern is more involved and provides a curved path. Furthermore, only few bubble sources seem to be contributing. From this picture, closed rings should not be possible unless there are mechanisms for bubbles to fall down from the peak. Again, disintegration into microbubbles might be a way for the gas to escape from the antinode. So the antinode is not moving much. And what am I talking about? Conceptually speaking, these are longitudinal waves, but if I can find something that will help conceptually, I will get it. Where's my node-antinode image? Somewhere here, I think, hopefully. Oh, no. Okay, give my mug shot whilst I make some mistakes here. Okay, here we go. So you've got your node-antinode here. I think this is in a resonant cavity, so it's not open-ended. And so you have a node on the two side walls and the antinode in the middle. And so at the bearing in mind that this is longitudinal, so we will go to the image or the website that I was pointing to before. If I can find it. Yeah, so this is the website that I was referring to. And we shall zoom in a little here. This should make things a little clearer. Okay, so we have... So this, by the way, is work by Dan Russell. And go and have a look at it. I have provided the... You can see the link up the top there. You can if I get rid of my face. There we go. There's the link. And you can see here that this spot... which is on the node, is not moving whatsoever. Okay, it's not moving whatsoever. Everything else is moving around it. And this is the antinode. And so, if I got that right, yeah. So the antinode, you have maximum sort of movement, but no pressure change. And on the node, you've got no movement, but the maximum pressure. And so that is what's going on. And so I can imagine that one of our peaks or troughs in our ultrasonic tanks are one or other of the node and antinode. And I'll leave that for your homework to find out which one's which. But anyway, so you can imagine that if you were going to squeeze something, you would want it to be on a node. And it kind of is like, it's weird because it's not actually moving at all. But when you think about it, the environment around it is being squeezed the most, and it's being decompressed the most. Whereas there's no real pressure change on the antinode here. This is just being displaced, okay? And so you can imagine this in a 3D volume under different circumstances. So let's go back to what I was showing you before. What was I showing you before? What was I showing you before? I was showing you this. Oh dear, am I? Where is it? Not that one. This one. Okay. So I was showing you this. So anyway, it's explaining how it falls down. So basically, it's saying that the large bubbles appear on the nodes, and they then form small bubbles, and the small bubbles fall towards the antinodes. Here's your double layer, and this is actually a double layer observed from the top. This is a double layer, and this is a double layer observed from the top. And they don't have a full explanation for it. They call it a jellyfish. It has been shown that the structure has strong cleaning and erosive potential at objects. So this double layer is very, very good at cleaning, and it's very, very good at eroding. And isn't that interesting that the magneto-hydrodynamic model, the ball lightning, in its double layer is very good at chopping things up and eating through things. Okay. And this is the oscillation between the double there. So it's not there, and then it's here, and then you can see it's appearing here, and it's appearing more, and this is disappearing, and so forth. As it goes through it, it switches between the top and the bottom in the structure there. And this is a term that is quite interesting, and it's a lot to do with how bubbles interact. It's called Bjerknes forces. I think it was 1906 or something this guy discovered this. But essentially you've got a sound field, and then the bubble itself changes the way the sound moves around in the environment, and that causes other interactions that are not in the direct longitudinal way that the sound is propagating. So there's some study. Now this, for me, was very interesting when I saw this, because what are we seeing here? We're seeing two spots, and it's saying that this is a period 2. So there's, in theory, 2 cycles, I guess, here. And there's 2 spots. So maybe these are 2 nodes. And there's an antinode here, and there's an antinode here. Okay? But the interesting thing is, you've got the spiral coming in here and the spiral coming in here. And what do you actually see when you look at this? I don't know. But I think what I want to do is get much, much better, higher quality imagery here. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to show you in this this presentation. Not there, nothing there. This is interaction of a cluster with the wall. This is a streamer, which is quite nice. We saw these in Suhas Ralkar's lab, and it comes towards the surface. This is interestingly aluminium, but the work that we are doing in Ultra is, there's no work in this similar. Okay, so this is the one that I want to focus on right now. Where is it? Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. Is it that one? Oh dear, I've lost it now. Yeah. Where did I put it? Not there. Not there. Not there. Not there. Not there. Oh well, I've got it in my Photoshop here. I just want to show you some things in Photoshop. Give me a second. I shall load up Photoshop. I shall not load up Premiere. Go away. Okay. Right. Next on the list is this one. Okay. So, what have we got here is our little piece that we found in our Ultra experiment. And if you recall, if I've got it still under the microscope, maybe, the interesting thing about this structure we have here is it's quite similar to the one we found on, that I showed you rather, on the this one, the trefoil on here, in that you have 2 very defined wings and then one that isn't quite making it, okay? And if I go back to here, we have 2 very defined wings. I don't know why I can't. I've got a different thing. This defined wing here, this defined wing here, our central piece, and this bit that's not so good. So this is kind of what we're seeing on here. You see, they've got the 2 defined wings. They're actually, it's rotating the other way, but we're looking at that one from the top down, and this one is we're looking at from bottom up. So this one's from top down and this one is from bottom up. So the rotation is the same direction. And yeah, so you can see kind of maybe the two. So this is on a John Hutchison sample from 1986 with the ball lightning burning structure in there. And this is in a hydrodynamic structure. And we have this hexagon. It looks like we've got a bit of a yin-yang there, but I don't know if you can see one kind of like looks like a steel ball here, looks like a steel ball here, and looks like something there. Anyway, it might be a push, but because this here, this is from a Dave's experiment, and this is a piece of aluminium, but you can see that it has this kind of spiral arm galaxy formation, the same as we saw in that paper, coming in from two angles. But this is looking from the top. So what I've done is I've turned that upside down and I've put it on top of our structure here. And of course it's at an angle, so we're seeing a lot of this and not a lot of that. I've actually got a little thing here that kind of draws something there. And if I pull this back down here, you can maybe see, maybe not, that we have material being pulled into the center point. Okay, we have a twist coming in here and a twist coming in here. Maybe not. I mean, it's because they're not so aligned so well. And what I've done actually is I have taken the object from that paper here. You can see it here. And what I've done is I've blown it up like so. And if you look, maybe I didn't rotate it on this one. I haven't. Okay, maybe I have. I don't know. But what I'm saying is it's something I believe is something like what you're seeing here is going on, except I haven't rotated that. Somehow oh no, it's the one above. That's as it was. What I'm looking at is this, and this is rotated. So it should be rotated like that. And this is a node, this is a node, this is an antinode. Sorry, no. Yeah, node, node, antinode. It might be the other way around, antinode, antinode, node, but whatever. There's a group of 3 objects, 4 objects. And something's going on here. And if we put the yin-yang on there, we get a structure like that. So you have one spiral coming in this way and another spiral coming in this way. And then there's whatever has to be here because it's ripping the material out of the structure. And that's something similar to what you see here. Kind of. Anyway, that's what I was playing with that data that came to me yesterday. And you might have a different opinion. And like I say, it's a big blue ocean of opportunity. If I take out, I'm showing the wrong one there. I take out this there. So it's like that. And if I put that on there, I might dial that back down. So like that. So you may or may not agree that the 2 spots here and the central one. And if you imagine, when you looked at those streamers, it's coming in from here, and you can imagine it's coming in here, and this one's coming in from here, and it's coming in here. And what you have is you have a vortex that's going this way, and you have a vortex that's coming this way, which means you've got in the center, and we've seen this on the Lion quartz, you've got something going this way and something going this way. And what does that do? In that very, very center point, right in here, oh no, stop zooming too much. Okay. In this very, very central point here, right in this central point here, you have one thing going one way and one thing going the other, right there. And this creates a vortex. And this is effectively an incredibly small point at which the point of the vortex comes from. And in theory, this will create a tornado from this point here. So your yin-yang, this one flying in from this way and this one flying in from this way, is at this point, you have literally shear forces which are as extreme as they can be. And so there is a very singular point. And actually, you can get cooling by doing this. And maybe that is potentially cooling the matter, or at least allowing it to cohere. So is that really creating a situation where you're getting the conditions for condensing matter in the core there? I don't know, but I do think it's interesting. It's not totally what I wanted to say today, but I've just put it out there because I think that paper is worth having a look at, and there is a lot of things that we can explore with that. And I'm now going to share you the other paper because it's rather nice. So we've just looked at bubble structures in acoustic cavitation, and they had these galaxy structures which seem to form what I believe is a little bit of a yin-yang in the middle there, and it's that structure which I believe, or something similar, is creating those vortical pieces, and potentially that's where the ion sphere is formed, and that is a central cohering point in there. Maybe wrong. Doesn't really matter. We do know that cavitation can cause transmutation. And so that's that. And then the next one I'm going to look at is acoustically driven X-ray emission. Now, this is interesting because these people maybe, or maybe not, they don't know about Ken shoulders, but they LENR has been shown, well, firstly, there was a thing called J radiation. I've talked about this before. And this was discovered in the 1910s by Barkla. Barkla is the guy that won the Nobel Prize for discovering characteristic X-rays. And these are the X-rays that we use to determine elements when we're putting it under electrodispersive spectroscopy in a scanning electron microscope. And so this is how we tell which element is which. But he spent the rest of his life trying to explain what J radiation is. And he called it J radiation because it is higher energy than any radiation that you get from a K shell, which is the inner shell. So you should get like the high energy, but you don't. And you don't get as high as this. And he found that it could be as high as 130 kiloelectron volts. And this was also observed by Preparata. It was observed by Japanese researchers. And it's mentioned in an interview between Christopher P. Tinsley and Martin Fleischmann in the 1996, I think, in Infinite Energy. And you can go and look at that. And I've talked about that on the MFMP's YouTube channel in the past. But bear that 130 keV signal in mind. And also Ken Shoulder says it produces UV and soft X-ray when you get this condensation of matter, this coherent matter, as I believe it is, and you get predominantly 2 keV, but you can imagine that if you have an explosion of these things, you get higher energy emissions of X-rays, and so that could be exploding exotic vacuum objects. And so I will now look at this presentation because it is key to this discussion. So let me just find it again. Okay. So this is acoustically driven X-ray emission and matter collapse in lead, and this was published 16th of October 2018 by Instituto de Física Universidad Autónoma de San Luis Potosí. Sorry if I butchered that, but this is from Mexico. So it's the action of a focused underwater weak shock waves. Sorry, the action of focused underwater weak shock waves. This is longitudinal sound on a lead sample was revealed to be not restricted by a mechanical influence only. A strong, unexpected X-ray emission was registered from the lead foil exposed to those shock waves. Sound into X-rays. And this is something that also Vladimir Vysotsky observed in high-pressure water cutting tools, which were extremely adiabatic compared to the process of X-ray generation. the lead foil exposed to shockwaves lost a part of its area, having the shape of a polygonal hole of the size of 2 millimeters. The missing polygon of lead foil looks as a delicately removed part with no damage at the hole surroundings, as it should be after mechanical breaking. Does this sound a bit like that not damaged edge on the area that's cut out of the 10 yen coin? This points to a non-mechanical mechanism of hole formation. Non-mechanical? That missing polygonal lead matter seems to be disappeared because the total lead volume was reduced by that amount of after exposure to acoustic waves. Matter collapse. Both paradoxical phenomena cannot be explained by a combination of known effects, and a fundamentally new mechanism is required to underlie them. I don't know, something like Hutchison effect? Although this is doing it with just straight sound. But is it just straight sound? Does the straight sound do something to the matter? The concept of electron anomalous states, which encouraged the experiments and specified main features of them, is likely that mechanism. So they make a speculation. So this is the sample. This is the piezoelectric shockwave generator. So they basically have an ultrasonic horn of some type. They have these X-ray films that we've talked about, that I have here, these self-developing X-ray films. So this is something that you can try at home, kids, with these things. And a very simple apparatus, if you look at it. And they're clasping this piece of lead in a holder unit, and they are using this parabolic disc to create a beam of sound. Okay. This is the X-ray that they observed, and you can see the polygonal shape. So image of the X-ray film after exposure to 1,000 shock waves with a peak positive pressure amplitude of 20 megapascals. Shockwave, plastic envelope, 0.44 millimeters thick copper foil, X-ray film, lead foil, plastic envelope. So anyway, so they've got different marks that they observed. They've got these spots on there. That's interesting, isn't it? They've got little spots. It'd be great to have a better view of that. And also this is quite interesting. It does look like we have a figure of 8 here with one on top of the other. Does that look like it to you? I think it probably is. And we've got one here that's the one on top with the dark bit in the center, and this one which is underneath with not so dark. So I would suggest they should look for maybe seeing carbon in there. But anyway, that's just me. What do I know? Okay. So here's something that has not quite gone through. It says lead foil after exposure to 130 shockwaves with a peak positive pressure of 29.3 megapascals. The foil was immersed in water at the focal plane with the water level at 40 millimeters. So this has water. Water actually is not very compressible. And so it's a good thing to propagate sound. And here, especially if water is at 4 degrees. If I wanted to do these experiments, I'd probably get the water to 4 degrees. Anyway, comparison to figure 7, the lead foil was inside the plastic envelope. So this was actually in a plastic envelope, okay? And exposed to 250 shock waves with a peak positive pressure of roughly the same. The shock wave velocity calculated by blah, 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 corresponds to the sequence. Anyway, sound into X-rays. They observed sound into X-rays, and it says, however, in that case, X-rays had to be of at least 50 kiloelectron volts. Okay, so that's above a straight EVO formation X-ray. And I think if you go through this, some point they determine. Anyway, here's the money shots, really. I think they determine 130 kiloelectron volts, which is very, very interesting because that's what lots of other people have seen. So I don't quite know where that is in here. But anyway, these are these pieces. Hexagonal hole in the lead foil after exposure to 250 shockwaves with the peak positive pressure amplitude of this. The shockwave velocity calculated by that. Amplified heptagonal hole. So, it's got 7. The scale is millimeters. And octagonal hole in the lead foil after exposure to 500 shockwaves with peak pressure. And also notice these little leaders coming out here, these little leaders. At some point I'll do some little models, and I think you'll see what those possibly are. But anyway, matter collapse. In our experiments, we also studied another effect of shock waves, which reflect from a surface of the sandwich containing the lead foil, 0.06 millimeter thickness. Each shock wave generates an acoustic pulse propagating through the metal. At the energy used in our study, the lead foil could not be mechanically perforated by one shock wave. One shock wave only produced a residual plastic deformation of the foil, which got slightly bent in the direction, the x-axis, of the acoustic propagation. Further, repeated shock waves led to an accumulation of those deformations. After a critical number, on the order of 100, of shock waves, the foil became perforated. This was accompanied by a strong deformation of the foil area surrounding the perforated region. In this case, the foil was in contact with the water. And so that's figure 7, which is here. This is figure 7, where it's in contact with the water. Okay. In figure 8 to 11, the lead foil was hermetically sealed inside the factory plastic envelope. Figure 2. So where's the figure 2? It's not there, is it? It's like up the top here. This is figure 2. So there's a plastic seal with the lead piece in it. I guess they're trying to get very pure material, but anyway, it's factory sealed. Maybe it's in this thing anyway. And was not directly exposed to underwater shock waves. However, those shocks that weakly reflected off the water-plastic interface also resulted in acoustic pulses in the metal. Whereas the foil damages in figure 7, the one that just got deformed, are due to mechanical actions of shock waves, the damages in figure 8 to 10 are substantially different. The scenario of pure mechanical creation of those holes by acoustic pulses would look straightforward. In this case, after the accumulation of small deformations, the foil in the center would become thinner and finally get perforated. The lead matter that initially filled out the hole would be distributed around it. By the action of contracting plastic film and rugosity of the foil would be created near the hole. The absence of rugosity around the holes in figure 8 to 11 contradicts the scenario of pure mechanical breaking. The microscope magnifications of the hole shown in figure 12 to 14, I think down here. Yeah, it's showing that it's coming up towards the camera. It's not so clear, but this is the edge that's being cut, but this is actually coming towards the camera. Okay. In figure 13, the cross-section of the foil at the hole shows that the foil was bent towards this is showing here that it's bent upwards here. That's the sound waves are coming in like they're coming through my mouse pointer there. They're hitting the lead, but through in the plastic sealed container. But still they're breaking it, but the actual thing is coming towards the water with the sound pulses, the acoustic pulses coming this way. Anyway. So in figure 10, it corresponds to the disappearance of 55 milligrams of lead. Lead melting is impossible since a conversion of the entire acoustic energy into heat would increase the temperature of the missing lead part by only 0.01 of a Kelvin. A conversion of the missing lead matter into micron-sized particles shown in figure 12 to 14 seems impossible since their total volume is approximately 1% of the disappeared interior hole. So they observed microparticles, but the microparticles were only 1% of the volume of the disappeared hole. Did they condense into a heavier element? I mean, lead's the heaviest stable element. So what did they condense into? One can suppose that the missing 75% of the hole in the interior was transferred by secondary acoustic pulses propagating along the lead foil away from the hole. In principle, such pulses can be generated by the incident acoustic pulse. La la la. So blah 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 blah. Okay. Anyway, they have a mechanism. We won't go into that. There's a discussion. But essentially, they observed sound into X-rays and matter collapse. Disappearance of microscopic part of the lead matter exposed to acoustic pulses was noticed. The disappearance of matter has the shape of a polygonal hole in the lead foil and so forth. Anyway, you can read this in your own time, but essentially the lead disappeared. That missing polygonal lead matter seems disappeared because no traces of it were found. So you get a lot of X-rays, and they are X-rays are light, and you get disappearing lead. Was something converting the lead into light? Was something converting the lead into light? And that's probably where I'm going to leave that. Does anyone have any questions about that? Stop saying my name, says Shockwave. Yes, there's creative and destructive shockwaves, yes. Okay. Can you, Corky Goss, can you then disrupt space in a controlled way with this Evo tech? Yes. Would be great to be an organizer. Thank you, Bob. Yes, excellent. We need organizers. Get the message out. Plasmoids. Well, yeah. Plasmoids is the name given by Winston Bostick, and it's a collection of magnetically organized. He used to... He basically created what were exotic vacuum objects, but he thought they were just ion-electron pairs. This is when it's not quite a plasma. The ion is actually associated with the electron, and then they come together and form these shapes. But Ken Shoulders moved on from that, and Takaaki Matsumoto said they were fundamentally something different. In the end, Evo's was not telling you exactly what it was, whereas Takaaki Matsumoto was saying it is specifically a certain number of things, which isn't just an ion-electron pair. And other people are saying that it's producing magnetic monopoles. And in the 1986 book of Ken Shoulders, he is saying they are oscillating monopoles. In his conclusion, he's saying that they are forming oscillating monopoles. And so you have his work, and then in 1992 you have Solin saying that it forms these magnetic charges, i.e. monopoles. Yeah, so this is matter collapse. Christoph F, you will see in an O-Day slide my reference to Om, and it's a different slide. It's related to meditation, but there's a whole series of things that I need to talk about before we get on to those aspects. Shockwave. Bob, do you know of easy water and its ability to separate charge on its own? Yes, I've heard of easy water. Well, Bob K, you get totally paralysed with all this scientific info. Sorry, this has been a long journey. Trying to make it as simple as possible. Water is magic, Shockwave, yes. At the poles of Saturn, there are also polygonal vortex, yes. These are fluid dynamic structures, but they have vortex in them, and vortex have interactions, and they have friction planes, and at the bottom of when water goes down a drain, in theory, right at the bottom, you've got water going one way and water going the other way, and that's exactly what I'm saying is going on in that kind of the center of the yin yang. And so it creates a real intense vorticity. Okay, so I think we've done that. So we've shown matter disappearing, we've shown matter being synthesized, and I think probably I'm gonna show you this data from Amaza gas. I just need to find it, but before I do that, I'm going to step forward because just one slide. Do I want to step forward one slide at the moment? I don't know whether I do. No, I don't. I don't want to step forward one slide at the moment. Okay, so just bear with me a second, and I will get up what I need to do there. Okay, so just before I go on, I'll show you some. I took those images out of that PDF that I've just shared with you, and here I have them. And I played with the contrast a bit, and you can see that it isn't just the hole. They don't discuss the fact that just like on the Hutchison sample, so if you go to the Hutchison sample, and we go to an area that's been affected by what I believe is something similar going on in terms of incredible vortices and stuff, like what's going on here, for instance. We have this material coming in. It's either coming in or going out, but the like rolling or the drawn lead here has these lines, and it's very greatly changed. And so we saw that also in our study of Hutchison's Bullburn sample the other day. So there's definitely something going on around here, and then you have this central zone. So I guess we can maybe think of it a bit like, if I can go and find it, our little thing that we studied the other day. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, I'm trying to find it when I'm zoomed in. It's probably not a good idea. Oh dear, I'm such an idiot sometimes. Okay. What? That wasn't what I was looking at. Oh, I know what I've done. I'm a double idiot because I've zoomed in and translated it. Okay, so I'm talking about. Am I talking about that one? Maybe I am. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if this is what I want. It's not what I want. Oh God. All right. The thing that we were looking at the other day, where it had a hole in the center and there was an affected area around the outside. This is essentially kind of the same thing that we're looking at here, in my view. And there's the last one here. And again, you can see that the pattern of the lead is distorted. This one, whatever happened here, it looks like this one came in at a slight angle, whereas the other ones are kind of more square on. That one with the, and this one with the hexagon. But this one looks like it may have come in at an angle. Okay, so give me a sec and I will find what I next want to show you, which is not that. Now this next data, for me, when I saw it, I don't know why, I wasn't surprised, but I said to Alan, I said, when people see this and they actually realize what they're seeing, it's going to be very difficult for them. It's really very difficult. So I'm glad it's only 46 people. I don't have to feel too bad. Okay. And I'm just going to show you the raw data. You can judge for yourself, but this is the raw data. When I get it, it will be. So firstly, I am going to show you the video where this thing actually was made. And then I will show you the data. And next week I will populate out these two presentations that I've done with a more organized layout of these data sets, so that it's a bit easier for you to talk to other people about it without it being a mess on a YouTube stream. So I'm going to get the video first for this event. Let's find that. My machine doesn't die through being stressed. Really doesn't like doing this much. Little while. So, nearly there. You missed my point, Bob Gay. I want to get this out there so some people have seen it first. It's kind of trying to fly under the radar. Say things that can't be unsaid. Okay. I'm looking for... Okay. So the first video is the full speed dual camera shot. I'll do it in here. Okay, hope the audio works. Let's see if I'm looping back from Firefox. You don't want that anyway. I'm going to try and find a better way to queue up videos because this is too slow for me. I'd get bored if I was watching me. It's lucky you're talking amongst yourselves. Okay, and we'll do this one. Okay, so we want not that. We don't want that either. Okay. So it's not a very long video, you'll be pleased to see, or hear, rather. I want that there, I don't want that there. Okay. Sorry, you got adverts there. So this was in Japan, 2019. That the flickering there is the 240 frames per second on the GoPro, and it just has one dark frame every other frame, which is just annoying on that old GoPro Hero Black 3. You've got George Eagley, and he's waving the vacuum cleaner with our filter on it, and he's going to capture some vapor. This has never been done before with any type of HHO or stuff gas. This was an on-the-fly idea I had to try and capture the smoke, to try and determine what it is. And what it is, which I will share during the week, I won't do it here, but I will do it later in the week, it is actually the same transmuted material you see on the tungsten rod. We've captured from the vapors. That's the first time that's ever been done, or certainly recorded. So what you're going to see here is the whole experiment that produced the artifact that we're going to go over in a minute. So yes, what I can say is not only do we have proof of near instantaneous transmutation from a Mars gas on a 2% thorium doped tungsten rod, we captured the vapors from it, and those vapors are the same transmuted elements. So this is Dr. O here, this guy here. This is Sho, and then this is Mr. Amora, he's the theoretician, and this is, oh God, I should remember his name, but I don't want to dox him, so he's a helper there. So that is the whole experiment. And so when you have a Mars gas, I'm going to stop that because you're probably hearing a lot of nonsense. When you have a Mars gas, you are able to basically instantaneously do LENR. And this is quite special. And it's not just you can do LENR, is that I predict you will see these structures. And it's the same structures. It's all the same thing. Anyway, let me find it for you. Before we do that, I'll just got one slow motion of this as well, so you can see it slow down. So yes, it does get a little bit flickery. So if anyone has epilepsy, please let me know, because this is a little bit flickery. Or look away now. Right. This really is slow, isn't it? It's going to be a week before we get to the the action. Oh dear, let's speed it up. Let's go to when the flame comes in here. You can go and look at this on our YouTube channel. It's been up there for a long time. So there is your Mars gas flame, and it's interacting with the tungsten, which has 2% thorium in it, and we verified that is the case. It basically has thorium and tungsten. And I will put that data. I won't go into that data today. I've already done it in the past with looking at other parts of the tungsten rod, but I won't go into that data, the confirmation that it is thorium and tungsten today. I just want to focus on the structure. That is the point of what I'm going through today. All right, now I'm even getting bored. Mr. George Eagley there. Right, I'm going to zoom on. You can look at this on your own time. So it looks like it's just kind of warming up. And actually, tungsten is extremely good at thermally conducting heat, unlike stainless steel. And what happens is we've got some gaffer tape here, some carpet tape, and it's holding the tungsten rod on the side of this flower pot can, which we acquired from the local store. And it melts the plastic over there, and it kind of just falls down. So that's what it does there. And you can see here, this is the filter, which is got he's holding the vacuum cleaner. This is all top quality science. But it's what you do when you're working on the fly. And so there we go. You get the idea, and it looks like it's getting hot. There we go. And as it gets brighter, the camera adjusts its exposure. And there we go. So a little bit there. I'm just stepping forward. You can look at this in your own time. Okay. So this is what you see, but when I show you what I'm showing you, you want to imagine that you are doing some transmutation of radioactive elements. I'll go into this in more detail in the second part of ball lightning and coherent matter transmutation, or coherent nuclear transmutation. Okay, so that was that, and I will now get you your actual data. So this is just a whole bunch of raw data I'm going to show you now. Raw and unfiltered data. We like it raw. Okay. Okay. You ready for this? Ba-da-da. So, we have a pretzel. Yes, we do. We have a pretzel. Okay, and in our pretzel, we have one of the sides of the pretzel is above and one is not so above. And we have the ability to look at this in a couple of different ways. So, that's one mode, and this is the other mode. And around the pretzel, you have less affected tungsten. You've still got some channels and stuff. But this is our figure of 8, as it were. And we've even got a close in there. And this is actually a 3-object structure. And it has the vorticity, and it has a separate type of vortex it appears to be generating down to a focal point with a half dividing line, and then another structure here. And it's the elements which are absolutely incredible on this. There's a close-up on that structure from a different angle. So you've actually got a blob here and a kind of anti-blob here. And then you have a sphere here and a 50% division where there's nothing on this side, but not quite. It's not quite nothing. There is actually a whole circle around this area, which is more clear at when you look at it like in other images. So here you can see it's more a circular structure, but only 50% of it coming down to the center point on this object is in line. And I actually have mergers of this together. So you can see here, you have this ball-shaped structure here, and then you have your oval shape here. Now, what we have actually is our heart. This is our heart that goes down to here. It's slightly off-centered. And you can begin to understand why it would be off-centered, because this one's on top of this one. So, you know, it kind of is, there's a bit of twist going on there. And then you have this ball down here. And let me see. And what other data? Okay, so. So this is the raw welding data. Can you see it? Maybe you can see it. Oh no, it's not zooming in proper there. Okay, so we've got some spots, and we've got some other kind of like things of interest. So just 2 areas on it, and I need to load that with Microsoft Word for it to work. So go back to my mugshot whilst it's spending some time doing that. Okay, so this is an unfinished report here, but you can see that when we exposed a Marsa gas on the tungsten rod, that it got to 216.6 degrees centigrade. That was the maximum temperature it reached. And so whatever's going on that's producing this fuming is not exceeding, according to the bolometer with the emissivity that's set on it, anything more than 216.6 degrees centigrade. And this is the configuration of the experiment here with the rod held, and we have a couple of x-rays here. The x-rays didn't actually show anything interesting, but they're nowhere near in line really with the action. So that would need much more experiments, and hopefully this year we'll be able to go and do much more experiments there. And this is a photo of what you've just seen, a slightly higher quality, and you can see the overall setup there. And this is the observation of various materials. And if you go to the other one here, you will see that there does appear to be something that appears to be strontium in here. It's picked up a signal here of strontium, but this might actually be a band that overlaps with one of the other elements that are there. Anyway, so that is what we observe, and I will now go to the other part of this data. Now, I'm very sorry, but in the image on this, what happens in the SEM is that you can go forward and backwards, and you can put a load of areas on a particular image, and then you can go forwards, and it kind of grabs the wrong image, but I have it here. So what we've done is we've got a whole load of sample points you can see on here. So I'm sampling areas where if I go, for instance, here, there is a ball down here, and there are other structures around here, like it looks like there's a ball here, and then we obviously have the ball here, and then we have whatever this film is here, which has got a round area, but it's only really 50% up. And if you look at the heart kind of comes down to here to a point, and then the point draws down towards this sphere. Okay, so I'm going to go and look at where it is over here. So what's happened in this image is I'm looking at a different area in the background, but I've actually already done the analysis on this, so it's just showing the wrong area. But if I go back to the sample areas here, this is very, very raw. So by atomic concentration, let's have a look at that. So in theory, our material was essentially all tungsten and thorium, all bar some surface contamination and something that appeared to be strontium, but I don't believe it is. And let's have a look at this ball down here. So unfortunately, it's even chopped that off. That's the two. So whatever that one was, 1168. Have I actually got it on here? No. So it's the one we're missing. Typical. Okay. All right. I've looked at this large area here, and that is 1168. So let's have a look at what 1168 is. Well, it's got the second highest level of carbon in it. Mass concentration is 36, and there we go, 76% carbon. 76% carbon. And this, if you look at it in the other shot here, looks like this. And as I said to you before, in some of the SEM images, the darker something is, the lighter element it is, and the lighter it is, the heavier element it is. So this is kind of like tungsten, and this is carbon. And this is a carbon film. This is exactly what Matsumoto said comes out of this electronuclear collapse. When you get a bosonic cluster, a massive number of nucleons, and they explode, and they produce this film that we also saw on the 10 yen coin in the last presentation. So something is happening here that's doing that. So this is the carbon film in this area. And it's quite possible that 167, if you can't find it anywhere else, 1167, 1167, 1167, don't 70, 69, 1172. Like I say, I'll do a separate presentation on this. Yeah, this might be that. I don't know, because it's lighter as well. So, but you can see that the number of atoms of tungsten is way down in terms of what it has there. And in fact, there's no thorium in any sample except 0.18 in one zone. Okay. In that same structure, this area over here, we have calcium, and it's 1.36, 1167 or whatever, or 0.96. There's plenty of calcium being formed in all of these areas here, all of these areas. And remember, that's dec alpha. And so it's something that's likely to be formed. I mean, you've even got like as much as 2.13% of the thing, but you've also got iron here in this one here. What's 1170? Where would 1170 be? There we go. There we go. Right in the same kind of place. This is 1172. What's 1172? 1172 has got iron. Iron, 6.14% of iron in here, in that sphere. Let's have a look at that on the other one. Look, that round sphere. You know what? That's exactly the same place we saw a sphere in the pretzel inside the 225-day reactor from Parkhomov. Exactly the same place. Now, in his case, he had fluffy carbon on the outside in almost like 2 rings, if you remember. But when I flipped the pretzel over, there was a sphere, and when I looked at the sphere, it had highly transmuted elements. So this sphere here is 6.14% iron. Okay? So there's more atoms. This is atomic concentration. There's more atoms of iron left at that point than there is tungsten. More atoms of iron than there are tungsten. There's obviously a hell of a lot more of carbon. There's more of oxygen. So you've got tri-alpha, dec-alpha. Tri-alpha, quad-alpha. Aluminium, you always see these kind of aluminiums. You've got silicon in there, always kind of see that. Lots of calcium, and so on. But 6.14% right at this spot. Right at this spot. Anything else that really sticks out? This is 1175. It's got 6.44% of silicon. So where's that? 1175. 1175. I think that might be this area here. And I think, yeah, anyway, we've got 1170 has got potassium in it. 1170, 1170. That's that chunk there. So this structure is not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. This is what this technology does every day of the week. So this is the sphere that I'm referring to here. That sphere, that one there with the 2 or multiple lines of stuff spinning around it, but in the Parkhomov 225-day reactor, this was fluffy carbon. But there we have it. So this is our heart, and you see it has this kind of slightly offset, and from this point down. It comes down here. So we've got the point of the heart here. And at that point, it comes all the way down here to the central point of this sphere here. And you can see that this sphere here is a very different material. So I think that whatever's going on is we have at this point almost like an induction effect, where on this side, there's something going on that's very one-sided, and on this side it's very one-sided too, and there's a very, very hard line between the two, and it comes to the point of this. Now I have a PSD of a composite, and I don't know whether it's in this directory, and if it isn't, I will put it into the review afterwards. Okay, so I have another structure on this sample which I will deal with in the next section. In fact, I'll do a much better set of slides for this particular structure. But essentially what I wanted to say to you is, in that video, which took no more than a few minutes, a Mars gas exposed to tungsten 100% transmuted it. And also I will show you in the second part of coherent nuclear transmutation, ball lightning coherent nuclear transmutation, I will show you the data for that filter. But without a doubt and in total certainty, a Mars gas is LENR in a can, is coherent matter transmutation in a can. And that for me, when I saw this structure, and I'd already seen this structure in so many different LENR experiments, I thought, okay, this is absolutely fundamental to how this technology works. It doesn't matter what temperature you're at, what system you're in. If you're gonna get serious levels of transmutation, like you see in the Parkhomov 225-day reactor, or this, you're going to see this structure. Nature wants to do this. It doesn't matter if you're in a Hutchison effect, it doesn't matter if you're in your ultrasound effect, or you're doing an Mars gas effect, or you're in a Vega experiment. It wants to do this. It wants to do the same thing. It wants to become as one. and it wants to just balance everything out. And it wants to make the material necessary to create life. These elements that you're seeing there, this, where is it? This carbon, oxygen, aluminium, silicon, sulfur, potassium, calcium, iron, strontium, not strontium. That we identified the strontium might be a misunderstood other element. You've got tin here, and so forth. Have we got anything else here? Oh, I've got the individual element breakdowns here as well. So like I say, I'll pull all that data out in a specific presentation on that. Right, I'm going to go back to the main slides now. Any questions on there? Does anyone want to see any more data for that? Does anyone want to see any more data for that? Okay, so I've just caught one here. Mark S. Carbon seems to like the most that was transmuted to. Yes, this is exactly what, if you go and look at that 1994 presentation of Yul Brown, in either his patent or one of his writings, but you can go and look at, I think it's in a text version of his patent on Rex Research. He said that when I do radiation remediation, and I use my aluminium shavings and iron metal, and I put these, whatever it is, americium 241 or whatever it is, and I do my Brown's gas on it, you can see it glowing, you can see it glowing, you can see it glowing, just as you saw in the video that I just showed you of a Marsa gas on the tungsten with the 2% thorium doped, glowing and glowing, glowing, and then there's a sudden flash and all the radiation is gone, and most of the material is converted into carbon. Exactly, 100% what I've just showed you. And what you are seeing is you are seeing the thing that is doing it. You are seeing a structure form that is doing the work. And now you can see what in the hydrodynamic analog, which by the way also transmutes elements. And it also transmutes elements and produces similar elements. And I'm sure if you had a tungsten plate and you could attack it with in the hydrodynamic sense, you would end up seeing something similar. You have the same elements being produced regardless of system, but you can actually see literally with your own eyes the kind of organization of matter, the self-organization of matter that takes on this role. And so, yes, it makes carbon. And if you go and look at the letter to fusion technology by Takaaki Matsumoto, and I've actually talked about this in the YouTube video, in 2001, he said, he admitted that ultimately what he thought originally was just quad neutrons decaying. He then conceded later that it was probably, it was extremely large numbers of nuclei interacting simultaneously. And what doesn't matter what you put in, whether it's lighter elements or heavier elements, typically this thing produces carbon above everything else. And if you go and look at Leclerc, he was making bucket loads of diamonds. If you looked at what I said earlier with Francesco Celani, he found diamonds growing on his nickel copper wires. And so carbon is very, very important to this story. It's both a food for this process and it's a product of this process. And there you have it. This is why I was telling you that this is for the tree of life, because you need carbon to make organic materials. And carbon is triple alpha. Oxygen is another alpha. It's an alpha conjugate nuclei. And carbon and oxygen are definitely what you need for life. It's carbon dioxide, it's oxygen, it's carbon-based life forms. And then the balancing reaction out of this is often hydrogen. And so hydrogen and oxygen makes water. Therefore, you've got water and carbon dioxide. You've really started to very quickly get into the basis of terraforming and so forth. This technology is the way you do it. It is the only way you can do it. It is what the universe does. Doesn't matter what system you do, it's what it does. Okay. It doesn't require terahertz. No. No, it does not. It requires coherence. That's all it requires. And if you, Tesla said he could knock down a building with resonance. It's just resonance. When I talk about how corona discharges produce tritium, as was the method used by the Carrera brothers, and actually it came from the 1920s and 30s where they were seeing excess heat there, and it would almost certainly be because of that. And when Tom Claytor proved that you could make tritium, the second fermionic nuclei that can be synthesized in a coherent structure and not be able to stay in a bosonic state and can be kicked out, as I said in my ICCF 22 poster, after protons, then you are going to it's because of the coherence that can be set up by the corona discharge. Okay, this is very important to many of the claims of systems like Sapphire and whatever. It's not so much it is resonance, but it's actually coherence. You need coherence is one step beyond everything being in phase. Everything being at the same frequency. It's everything being in phase at the same frequency. It's coherence. Well, it's literally sound, yes. It is literally sound, Dan. It is literally sound. And this is one thing you're going to realize. The walls of Jericho were taken down by a technology that produces exotic vacuum objects. You go around the building, the walls several times, they load into the rocks, and then you have sound. And you make a lot of noise at it. A lot of noise. Okay, golden flakes were new, Bob. Okay, I'll have a look. Pneumatech prototypes. So what you saw in that, and you will see over the coming days as I expand it out, is absolutely earth-shatteringly amazing to me. I don't know what it feels like to you, but when I saw that in Alan Goldwater's Magic Sound Lab, he graciously allowed me to spend almost every waking hour of a 10-day period on his SEM until I burnt through an entire pack of the electrodes, the thermal electron emitters. When I saw that, it was like, this technology is ripping matter apart. It's ripping matter apart. It doesn't matter what you give it. It's the strongest, highest melting point metal you can generally find. It's a heavy metal and it's ripping it apart. It's doing something with those nucleons and it's forming the elements for life. And in lighter technologies, like with lighter elements, it's forming the elements for life. It is nature. Mark S, something special about carbon. I actually have a slide in O-Day that is basically titled that. But carbon is not beryllium 8. Beryllium 8 is what you get when you do 7 lithium and you attack it with a proton, which is the first time you had fusion and fission. And that's how Cockcroft and Walton proved the splitting of atom and also the fusing of an atom to prove the idea of Einstein correct. And the energy yield equals mc squared. That is what they got the Nobel Prize for the proton and 7 lithium to beryllium 8. Beryllium 8 basically instantaneously decays. So the first alpha conjugate nuclei, alpha being the most, the best occupation of space-time that you can have of nuclei. You've got 2 neutrons, 2 protons, but they occupy the same space as a proton, a deuteron, and a triton. So you get 4 nucleons in the same space, essentially, almost approximately, but basically the same. Is the closest packing you can get. If you have beryllium 8, it just decays. So carbon is the first element after alpha particle, which becomes helium, which is a gas and goes out of the atmosphere. It's the first element that can be formed, which is an alpha conjugate nuclei. The second one is oxygen. Okay? So it's no surprise that if life was ever to occur, the beauty of the reality of what is possible with this technology, the only outcome is to make the elements for life. There's no other option. It's what it does. And it's the only thing that happens when you do experiments. There's no other option. So carbon is special. It's also special because the nucleus is predominantly 12 carbon, which is bosonic, which means it can be formed, and it's always the last product and the majority product, depending on what you do. If you drive this system too hard, you get very, very heavy elements, and then the structure falls apart, and you get all the fission products from the super heavy elements. And this is what happened to the Claire, and also this was observed by S.V. Adamenko. So you've got to respect this. You've got to treat it gently. Anyway, you'll see my last slide, and hopefully you will grasp that what I called this technology in the beginning of the 2017 personally, it is what it is. Corky Goss, bucket loads of arrows. People think I'm crazy. She got diamonds on the soles of my shoes. The soles of her shoes. I think that's the one. Paul Simon song. Fantastic song, by the way. We can use cavitation transducer to produce a Mars gas. Yes, I believe we can. But we know that his 178 hertz vibrator fins are very fault tolerant. They're wonderfully designed, whether by accident or otherwise, it doesn't matter. And they're gentle, so they're not doing... Taking cavitation to the max is the fastest way to kill yourself with strange radiation. So his system, nice and gentle. It's like water flowing in a fast-flowing stream. More importantly, this is very important. If you look at Bokris and Sundaresan, they did not observe iron forming in their underwater carbon arc discharges unless there was oxygen dissolved in the water. Okay? They did not observe iron forming in their carbon arc discharges underwater and unless they had oxygen dissolved. In fact, what they did was, to prove this, is they boiled the water, or took deionized water, boiled it so that you get rid of all the dissolved oxygen, and then they dissolved nitrogen in there. And with nitrogen dissolved in the water, they did not get the production of iron. And what does this tell you? This would explain, I've said oxygen is very important to these systems. If you are producing heavy gas, the Amarza gas or Brown's gas, you will need oxygen in your water preferentially. And in Amarza vibrator plates, he has it kind of like open, and it's sploshing and continually dissolving oxygen into the water. Oxygen is key, I believe, to the production of these heavy gases. And so I would suggest that if people want to have an increased level of iron production in ultra experiments, that they get an oxygen tank, or generate oxygen through their through a bubbler, through electrolysis, and they boil their water, maybe their deionized water, to drive off all the dissolved gases, which will include carbon dioxide, oxygen, and nitrogen, and as soon as possible, like, start bubbling oxygen through it to maximize the oxygen dissolved in the water. And The oxygen, in my view, is the binder that holds these or assists in binding and causing aggregation in these systems. Shockwave. Two diamond mines were created by a snake electric ring current that came out of the ground and flew and entered the ground 150 miles away. Yes. Yes. Sometimes you have to listen to what people pass down through the ages. So that's completely reasonable given. I mean, if you just look what happened with the vortex structure on the Lion, where you had no real carbon in the vicinity of where it was. You had like an alumina foam, you had a silicon dioxide liner, and you had iron, chrome, and aluminium in the heater wire. Yet on the top of the heater wire, where the half soliton produced by the vortex pair, where the half soliton went into the heater wire, you had carbon and oxygen synthesized. Okay, so you've got oxygen in both the alumina and in the silicon dioxide, but it's the carbon, and it's the carbon you see all of the time. In fact, one side you see like up to lead, and even heavier if you push it too hard, and the other side you see carbon, but mostly you see stuff removed from one side. I mean, if you push it too hard, you get everything. You get these big clusters, and then they do their self-collapse, and boom. Polygon. Yes, oxygen is not magnetic. It's paramagnetic. You're getting it. You're getting it. Well done, Polygon. That's why I said go and look at liquid oxygen put between magnets. They stay between the magnets. Gardy, anything rotating fast enough will produce strange radiation. Strange radiation affects many things, and it would be unsurprising if it didn't affect gravity. Oxygen is absolutely critical. Oxygen is what is added by brilliant light power. And Gordon's just said that, but this is known from the Mars gas. But the thing about a Mars gas generator, it's not just a vibration plate; it's actually an electrolysis as well. So it's actually going to be producing water in situ. But the interesting thing is the vibrator plates alone. I mean, you will always get like OH minus and H plus, but you want the oxygen dissolved in the water. And so when you looked at our experiments that we did in 2019, you will see that the top of the tank is open to the air, and it's very agitated. So there'll be constant additions of oxygen from the air. I think we've seen what strange radiation is in the Vega experiments, and because we've seen pretty much most of the structures and the behaviors that would explain the observed strange radiation tracks, and that they are exotic vacuum objects, and we know that exotic vacuum objects can become neutral and they can reactivate when they are excited. So you know, this is not something that we're nearly at the end of the journey of what is strange radiation. Sorry, I don't know your Russian name. I can't read the Russian. I should be able to by now, but I can't. Decomposition of oxygen into carbon and hydrogen occurs. This is very often reported in experiments with cavitation phenomena. Well, there's the carbon chain where you get, if you keep adding a proton, which is a hydrogen nuclei, to carbon, it'll go carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and this will also, in my view, occur in cavitators that are correctly producing the structures, these figure of eights, the heart shapes, and they will, when you have this occurring, you will have nitrogen production, and you also have oxygen production. And when it goes from oxygen back to 12 carbon, because 12 carbon acts in, and this is another way that it's special, and it's part of supposedly the solar carbon, solar proton cycle. But anyway, the 4 protons eventually end up by having some production of helium, and that goes back to carbon. So 12 carbon is actually a catalyst that produces helium in this cycle. But if you stop the music at some point, you're going to have some oxygen and some nitrogen. And guess what's in the air? Nitrogen and oxygen mostly. Bye, Mark. Reanderthal, just heard a superconducting flywheel tech being installed to feed the grid. Is this cover? No, I think that's probably just a flywheel, because you can store immense amount of energy in a flywheel. I think maybe, I don't know. Anyway, an Evo is superconducting. Okay, so I'm going to pull up some other slides. A question from Gadi Pierre. If I have a bunch of mini magnetrons under a skateboard, would it ionize the air? And if it had a rotating magnet? I'm going to talk about how EVOs play into anti-gravity, and also the evidence of ancient technology on that, another different one. But again, these things will start to become obvious to people if they're looking. Okay, so I'm going to show you the next slide. And the next slide was given to me. Like I say, I was doing this node anti-node thing. Last year I revealed where I'd got to in terms of thinking that this is producing monopoles, and that is what is doing the work. It doesn't matter what they're made of, actually. It's just that they are producing something that is akin to a monopole, and that is how you explain so many observations by John Hutchison and so forth. And I did those presentations, and John said, "Oh yeah, some other people were saying that my technology was doing monopoles," and like George Hathaway, who's an advisor to the Sapphire project, when he was working with him. Anyway, so I was literally doing that image with the node anti-node for explaining the vibration in the acoustic realm, in the longitudinal waves, and he sent me this, and I think it's from a Tom Bearden book. So we have longitudinal standing waves in sound, and we have at the node, we have no displacement, but we have maximum pressure changes. So if we can accept that and we move to here, he's saying, in other words, it's the vacuum space-time which must be the, but you can see down here it says figure 70. This is figure 70. Forming magnetic monopoles with a standing scalar electromagnetic wave in a nonlinear vacuum, locally curved space-time. Virtual magnetic monopoles can be formed and deposited in materials. So he has a north standing wave here and a south standing wave here. A north standing wave node here and a south standing wave node here. This is, I believe, what we are seeing in the Hutchison samples, which I was showing in the last presentation. And these so-called pseudo monopoles here are coming up in and being stored in the metal. And I believe that when you want to create a nonlinear vacuum, you have a voltage differential. So you would need a Tesla coil or a Van der Graaf generator. It doesn't really, or even just a high voltage potential. So just anything to create that stress on the vacuum. And I can actually go back to the sound analog here, and we'll go to the website actually. Let me just pull up the website again. And I've talked about this in the past about Tom Bearden's thinking on this, and I think you can probably agree that he's spot on. And we have a hydrodynamic model which actually also seems to do transmutation to investigate it in the ultra experiment. So let me get what I was going to do there, which is in here. So here's your standing wave, and if you go and look at my video where I went and visited the Hutchison equipment in Germany, I said that there was a couple of samples there, and I said, like, you know, this is because of the standing waves, and you can see that there's the node, and that's where the effect is occurring. So if you can imagine this is an electromagnetic wave. Tom Bearden is saying that instead of one wave, to get a scalar wave in electromagnetic waves, you have time reversed wave, and it's kind of like a reflection off a wall, and you get the wave coming back on itself, but out opposite. And so essentially, what you're doing is you are transmitting two electromagnetic waves of the same frequency, and I think it's 100 or 90 degrees out of phase. You can go and check. I can check in his book actually. I've got it over here. Is it here? Somewhere here. I've got it somewhere. Maybe not. But it's either 180 or 90 degrees out of phase. I'm too tired to actually think about it correctly right now, so I'll look it up. Anyway, it's one of the two. But anyway, you end up with... You can do it with interference as well, wave interference as well. So you get constructive and destructive interference. So I should have prepared that a little bit better. Sorry. Anyway. Basically, you have it so that you end up with a node from two waves that are kind of in phase but not. And what this does is you have at the point in the material you have zero movement, but you have maximum pressure and depressurization, biggest pressure changes. And what he's saying is that the stressed vacuum, the how does he describe it? The locally curved space-time in a nonlinear vacuum, this allows for energy to come in to that node and whatever. He's saying that this creates whatever it creates, which is necessary. I believe it's creating the exotic vacuum objects. If it's because the energy is coming in from the 0 point or the vacuum, you might like to say that. But it produced, what we do know is it ends up by producing exotic vacuum objects. And exotic vacuum objects, according to Ken Shoulders in 1986 book, conclusion are oscillating magnetic monopoles, and it would seem that you can actually arrange these in a form that they have a presentation of a pseudo-magnetic monopole. And that's essentially that. So you've got your monopoles of the majority south. And it's very interesting because when he sent this through to me, it's not showing that the norths are, there's no south. It's showing a bigger north here, a bigger north here, a bigger north here. And in the south ones, it's showing a bigger south. It's showing a bigger south. It's showing a bigger south. This is exactly what I've been saying for most of the last year, that this is a suppressed other pole. It's not a true monopole. But if you get a lot of suppressed poles, you end up with something that is essentially mostly south. And then this is mostly north. And there we go. And the interesting thing is, he says, sustained by input. Sustained by input. And what you will see, as I showed you previously, is in the Hutchison boat, sometimes if you drive it too hard, you end up with a wildfire. But if you drive it and then you turn it off, immediately these structures fall apart and they start doing their wildfire. And you see this in the ultrasonic tank. It's doing its business, and then you turn it off and it immediately breaks down. And so whatever was in there and it was confined and it was building its energy, it gets to a point where it's either doing transmutation, or when you turn it off, at the state at which it was transmuting, then it just reveals whatever state it's got to. So you can imagine a scenario where you bake something. It's like a recipe. You put everything in there. You get it to above the temperature, so the frequencies are going on. You know, terahertz is infrared radiation, by the way. To Dan Moretti, you said, oh, so it's not terahertz, but infrared radiation is that in that range, and that is actually just vibration. Okay, but you need to get coherence in there, and then so you get to a point where the whole thing is in a situation where it's cohering matter, and you like have a recipe. You bake it for so long, and out comes X. If you bake it a little bit longer, out comes Y. And you see this even in the Vega experiments. You don't see activity until you get to a certain level, and then you see all activity. In terms of it interacting, for instance, with the tungsten wire. So. Yeah, it's recipes. This will be recipes. Corky. Now the next slide is one of those spiritual moments in this journey, which you cannot discount it. And so what happened was, I had done Red Pill. I'd published it on the site that I had bought in 2007 called homosymbion.com, and that I knew it would be polarizing, but that was the moment that I had to either continue researching in this field or walk away, because I knew that the technology at some level, certainly for doing bad things, had been done, and I thought, well, if I talk about it, I'm not going to be telling bad actors things that they can use, because they've already got the bad parts worked out, and it's easy to do the bad parts. The question is, do we only want to have the bad parts out there, or do we want people to have the bad parts and the good parts and the amazing and the magical, the like freeze rays and the disintegration rays and the faster than light and the going through solid rock instantaneously, all the amazing things this can do? Do we want those to be the purview, the kind of like the hidden gems that they can use to rule over us and subjugate us, or do we want is it better that everyone knows and we're all on a level playing field? And so I decided to continue with this, And so I did red pill. And then I didn't know, but a senior member of the community, the old guard, some people call it, he did a hit piece on me, doxed my family and blah, blah, blah. Now, I was going to the UK for another reason in early August, and I had a friend, and he, 3 days before I went to the UK, he said, have you seen this? I said, what are you talking about? He says, someone's like saying X, Y, and Z about you, and really seriously defamatory, and doxing you. They've literally made a whole blog article trying to destroy your reputation. And I said, well, it's not unexpected. Let's be fair. They got some material to work with. But anyway, I looked at it, and in it, down the bottom, there was a comment section. And in the comment section, on the day that I looked at it, and apparently it had been up there for months, but on the day I looked at it, one Andrew Johnson from the UK had said, well, I don't know whether this guy is actually bonkers, but I can say that what he's saying about this is true. And so I thought, okay. So I actually wanted to speak to Andrew. So I thought, well, I will write to him, use that path to get there. And I was coming in 3 days. I said on the Sunday, I'm not doing anything. Shall we meet up in London and have a chat? And so we met up in London on the Sunday. This was, 3, 4, 5, something, just a few days after I had been made aware of this doxing. So this guy is doing everything his level best to destroy me. And in fact, I met him in Colorado at ICCF 2021, and I spent an entire evening getting him drinks and thanking him for trying to destroy me, because that was the most important thing that someone did in this journey. They tried to destroy me, but that connected me with Andrew Johnson, and that connected me to John Hutchison. And if I had not seen his materials and looked at them, I would not have been able to understand anywhere near what I'm able to share with you people. And so I met him in London. We had a chinwag in the station that I arrived to from the airport for about an hour, and he said, I'm hungry. He said, you hungry? I said, yeah. He says, well, I know a place down here. It's got plenty of eateries. I said, okay. And so he chose the street, and when we got to the street, there was loads of restaurants. He was right. And I said to him, okay, you chose the street. Let me choose the restaurant. And so we walked down the street, and I thought, I fancied a burger, right? I fancied a nice burger. And I looked at, there was a place called Cattle & Co. On this street. And I thought, it's got cattle in the name. I'm pretty sure they're going to be selling burgers. So I said, what do you want? He says, I want a salad. I go, oh, okay. Hopefully they've got salad. And so I went in and said, you got salad? He goes, yeah. She goes, yeah. Okay. So then you got burgers, obviously. And so we're going to take a table outside. And so we went outside and we sat down, we started talking, and they brought out the menu. And this girl, anyway, she was just a pleasant waitress. And what I am about to show you is no joke. It's exactly the full frame that was in the center of my vision when she handed the menu to me. And see what you can see. So, the first words I read were, as she handed me the menu, were, "What you came for. The 9.1.1 burger. 9-ounce chicken and beef patty. Yes, you read that correctly. Think delicious, yin and yang, and you're halfway there. Deep fried bacon and your choice of fries served with slaw." What you came for, the 9.1.1 burger. A 9-ounce chicken and beef patty. You know what? I actually didn't read the rest of that. I stopped at that point. She handed it to me and I read what you came for, the 9.1.1 burger, 9-ounce chicken and beef patty. I stopped and I ordered. It wasn't until a long time later that I was putting this slide together. So this was on August the 6th, 2017. So I was putting this image in January into the emerging, this is O'Day slide 94. I was putting it into O'Day and I saw, yes, you read that correctly. Think delicious yin and yang and you're halfway there. Think delicious yin and yang and you're halfway there. And that's what I came for. And what you see here is this chicken, and it folds around, and there's the beef, and it folds up, and then there's a piece of bacon flaming out the side. Isn't that tasteful? Isn't that tasteful? This isn't the only time this has happened. Okay, every time I'm doubting myself as to whether I'm taking the right path, this kind of stuff happens. This kind of stuff, not that kind of stuff. Okay? All right. So when people say that this is spiritual, yes, it's spiritual. Okay. So I'll tell you what I've called this since essentially the beginning of 2017. And when I referred to the walls of Jericho and the so-called weapon and the sound that was used to bring those walls down, and I've talked through the aspects of that. So you can load EVOs into a material, and I said in Sochi in 2018, you can use any boson to charge these things. You know, if they're on the surface, you can use light. If they're in the material, you can use sound. If you've got a material that's got a piezo coating on it, you can use light and it converts into sound, as they showed in the 1950s, and I've discussed that in our YouTube channel. Yes, you can get light. It goes into a piezo material like quartz, and it goes then into sound. It's actually at the frequency of the light, and that goes out and it will shake the material at that frequency. And by the way, when I kind of said that when I visited, anyway, it doesn't matter. I want to share with you what I call it, and this is how I feel about it. And I call this technology the God's toolbox. This is the God's toolbox. It is Pandora's box. It's open. It's been open for a while. We've got to make it work for us, and we have to respect it. Over the past couple of weeks, I have showed you 100% that this technology is able to rip matter apart. It's able to synthesize matter. It's able to give life. It's able to take life away. Do you want someone you don't know controlling your life through fear? This isn't to be feared. This is what everything is. It is the God's toolbox. There are people throughout history that have discovered little examples of what this technology can do. Little, like anti-gravity or extremely fast traveling, or in any medium, or unlimited energy, or transmutation of elements, or whatever. And they get megalomaniac with their ego. They think they can rule the world. You can understand why it has flipped people out just seeing one aspect of it without even understanding what's going on underneath. It's the God's toolbox. As I said in my comments about Sapphire in 2019, you can make solar systems with this. You can destroy suns. If you are a species that knew this technology, you could travel, find a dead bit of space, make yourself a solar system, pause your life, come back in 4 billion years' time. What have we got? Oh, I'm going to use a bit of CRISPR and we're going to make some organisms to mine the gold. I don't know, whatever you want, whatever you want. Why bother doing the mining? Yeah? And then you just come down and do a few party tracks. Oh, we got some little flying things in the sky. And everyone's going to go, oh, it's UFOs. Oh, they must be from somewhere. We'll have to do what they say. We have used this technology. Our species have used this technology. If you hadn't seen such riches, you could live with being poor. When you know what is possible, and you know the truth that that is possible, it's not imagination, it's not some superhero movie that's trying to make people think, oh, look, we're so weak. Oh, look at these things. They can make thunderstorms. They can make hurricanes. They can make tornadoes. They can make volcanoes go off. They can make tectonic plates shift, earthquakes. They can cause. It's go and look. In fact, I might find you the link in a minute. Go and look at the introduction to the old Flash Gordon movie, where they're coming in. Hey, what's this planet? It's planet Earth, apparently. Yes. Oh, I wonder what we'll have some fun. Yes. Okay. So, what are we going to do? Tornado, earthquake, hurricane, volcano, and it literally got the buttons. And this is like 70s. Everything on that button dash you can do with this technology. You can appear as a god. You can say, if you don't do what I say, there's going to be a earthquake and all the buildings will fall down. Or if you don't do what I say, there will be a volcano going off. Or there will be a terrible storm and it will flood you. Or you can literally do a pole shift. It's a con. It's just science. It's just science. And everything else is a con. It's the God's toolbox. But they're not gods. They're just like you and me. I said this the other day. Matthew 5:5. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. From Proust, the original meaning of meek. It's from the Greek and it means strength under control. Not, I'm pathetic, tell me what to do. Should I be doing this today? Should I be staying at home? What should I do, master? What should I do? Am I allowed to go and work to earn you money so you can, do whatever you like to do? Am I allowed to earn money for you? Is it the right time to die? Should I die today or should I die tomorrow? Tell me, please. No, not that kind of meek. Not that kind of meek. It's knowing that you have great strength. Peace through strength. Strength under control. And if you have that strength, if humans have the strength that this technology gives humans the power, but it's strength. Power implies subjugation. It's strength. You can be a strong person, but you don't have to use it. You don't. If you need to use it, you can. If it's good, you can use that strength, but you don't have to use it. So I heard this actually, I think I must have been about 22. I don't know, 23. And I heard it on the radio. I think it was on Radio 4. And they were talking about this phrase. And they concluded that the meaning overall, and I kind of agree with it, is those that know that they have great power, but choose not to use it, shall inherit the earth. Those should be every man, woman, and child on this planet, should know that this technology exists, that there is a world of abundance. No one needs to be fooled by an energy scarce society. No one needs to be fooled by a resource scarce society. We do not need to have energy technologies that cause destruction of our environment. We do not need to do that. We don't need to have these backward technologies for launching stuff up into space or to travel. Now, there is some complications because it produces fields and the fields can disrupt matter. So you kind of like probably would want a pyramid to launch off, okay? And I'll talk about, reasons for that. But anyway, the point being is you shouldn't use this ubiquitously because, there are penalties to pay, but you can use it under control. Have that strength and have it under control. Strength under control. That is the real translation of meek. Those that know that they have great power but choose not to use it shall inherit the earth. So I'd like to thank Francesco Celani, whose bravery allowed the project to commence, to countless individuals inside and out of the field for their freely given intellectual insight, research on our behalf, and their experience. To Frank Ackland for maintaining his forum. Thank you, Frank. Francesco Piantelli, Alexander Parkamov, George Eagley, Kenneth Shoulders, John Hutchison, Judy Wood, Norris Peary, Suhas Ralkar, Andrew Johnson, and Charles Greenyer. I'd especially like to thank the following people for their generous support of our research. The New Energy Foundation, Bobcat Svierge, AB, LENR Cars, Hunt Utilities Group, Magic Sound, and Carl Page. Optris Germany, Williamson IR, University of Missouri, EarthTech International, and the very, very many private donors. You're heroes, every one of you. Thank you. And if you have any questions, I'll take them now. That is the God's toolbox. I'm going to use it wisely. Hi, Cam. Thank you for watching. You can't make something shockwave until you realize what you can do. And part of that has to be belief. You have to believe something is possible. And sometimes you literally have to see it. It is, as I've been saying for years, it's seeing the wood for the trees. Go and get some wood from the forest. Just see a lot of trees. Sorry, mate, I can't get any wood. You need to know that there's wood in a tree first. You need to know that the technology is possible. having all of your education from day one saying it's impossible to transmute elements, and therefore don't even bother looking. Don't bother looking, because you know you already, because we're telling you, you won't see it. So Bob K has got a statement here that's very much after my own heart, and people that have followed my scribblings and scrawlings over the last several years will. He says, we are the creator gods here, but have simply forgotten all this so-called big secret. I've been saying, how did we get so stupid? How did we get so stupid? Well, I've already told you that you can use this technology to do a reset of the Earth. You can literally wipe out every type of civilization. Like, it doesn't matter whether you've got really, really good smartphones, or really, really good data centers, or really, really good cryptographic storage of your information. It can be wiped clean like that. Done, gone. Just like that. You just take a few people off world, do that, come back, and settle down. This. You can only put it on stone, and you can have to bury it. You have to bury it quite deep. So yeah, I've been saying for years, how did we get so stupid? Dan Moretti, no, it was the fear that they watched the planets almost wipe us out with thunderbolts of the gods. Yes, you can destroy this planet with this technology. That is why we will only inherit the Earth. At the moment, we are eating the Earth. We're not inheriting it. We're basically just about getting away with it. But the Earth is going to fight back. Okay? So with this technology, we can inherit the Earth. I.e., we can live in symbiosis with it. Right? It's my Homo symbiote. Live in symbiosis with the planet. Work with what nature wants to do. Not trying to make unnatural things, but work with what nature wants to do. I don't know, man. Just the thought of having this in my position is giving me ill intentions. That's it. I think the universe knows that humanity can only really have this technology if they're pure of heart, if they really want to work together. I don't mean some particular social order. I don't mean some particular economic structure. I mean, people need to, as I said the other day, we need to cohere in our thinking. We not all think the same. You have an ontological aim to make life better for all and the species which cohabit this beautiful blue globe we live on. You need to have that intention. And this technology will allow whatever intention we want to achieve to become reality. Some dark individual. So WP for truth. Yes, Bob, and not all people are altruistic as people here. And yeah. I expect extreme nonsense surrounding even what I've said today. But I got a bit thick-skinned. I've had people saying nonsense about me. I've literally had people doing everything in their power to stop this, right from 2013. And some of the people that have offered their help to me have been bad actors, really bad actors. But to be fair, some people that said X, Y, and Z about me have come up later. And by the way, this is you. It's not me. I'm just the poor guy that had to go through this. This was enabled by the crowd. It was enabled by the researchers who have given their lives to trying to get to the bottom of this. And it was funded by the crowd and donor and volunteer time. It's been a gargantuan effort, and we, if anything, the members of the MFMP have just put a little bit of an icing on the top, just a little bit, because this has been going back centuries, and all we are doing is rediscovering. It's not an invention, and it is not something that can be owned, because it is nature and it is the God's toolbox. It cannot be owned. It cannot be owned. I don't think Musk is evil. I think he's quite fun. but he's setting himself up to have a great technology to mine. So like this would be it. He's setting himself up for great technology to produce energy. This would be it. He's setting himself up for great technology for ground transportation. Well, this would be it. He's setting himself up for great technology for getting off planet. And this would be it. He even calls his company Tesla. I mean, really? Seriously? If you don't think that people aren't given things when the time is right and when the people that have the knowledge want to let it out, they have to set a story that's plausible, that this was all invented. Yeah? Not that oh God, not that they didn't already know what it was. Corky, Neuralink. You already have Neuralink. You just need to learn about people, love them, and open your heart to them. When two people love each other, they have a Neuralink. I have a Neuralink. I'm not saying I love John Hutchison, but what happened today, you could not make it up. I mean, literally doing standing waves in longitudinal waves, and going towards a description for how it occurs in the scalar electromagnetic waves. And at the point I'm making the slide, prior to the slide I want to do, he sends me the image I need. I didn't mention it to him. How weird is that? How weird is that? Thanks, Andrew. It means a lot coming from you. Thanks, Dan. I love you all. I mean, you're brave souls to be listening to me for this long rambling on. Societal amnesia. Yeah, I mean, as I said to you, this technology is in ancient artwork. It is in ancient paintings, it is in ancient artifacts, it is in ancient buildings, and it is also even regularly sculpted in to our current architecture. It's almost hilarious how much this is dangled in your face. It's almost like they have to show you the symbols of the technology whilst they're using it behind your back, whoever they are. But guaranteed 100%, there's a billion civilizations out there that are perfectly comfortable with living very nice lives using this technology, right? And we're like the poor rats who don't get the cheese every day. You know? Life should be about not offending others, not taking too much than you need, and the pursuit of happiness. Really, you know, doing creative stuff, just being creative. Okay, so David Bittilia, why would Musk waste time with the current tech immensely complex rocket engines? Well, you have to build a business. I'm not saying he even knows about this. I'm saying that he's being set up as the person that will be giving the little insight. There'll be some person that the person that actually gives him the information may not even be aware that he's been told it. He might have been told it by ways you can't even imagine, right? And he employs this person because this person is suggested to apply for a job. And then he goes to the job and he reveals this technology. Look, I did this, you know, on your dime. And suddenly he has it. And it's kind of like for the masses, it's kind of like, oh, well, it's obvious that he was trying to invent better VTOL technology, so that's what he did. Or it's obvious he was trying to develop better energy technology, so that's what he did. Or it's obvious that he was trying to develop better tunneling technology, so that's what he did. It's like, okay. You need to tell a story that's plausible. And ideally, you don't want the person that you're going to be pushing the technology to know that they're having the technology pushed to them. It needs to be a logical progression. So people don't wake up and think, we've been living a Kong for thousands and thousands of years. Thousands and thousands of years. You're talking about Gordon, about hallmark of evil, and I just want to take you back to a slide from the presentation on was it Friday? I don't even remember now. Friday, I think. And it's this slide. It's slide 59 from Ode. So yeah, the thunder god Preren and similar. Gromvoti Znachi, or thunder marks, are considered by some scholars as ancient symbols of Preren, which are often engraved above roof beams or over entries of village houses, to protect them from lightning bolts. Their circular shape symbolizes ball lightning. Identical symbols were discovered on Slavic pottery of the 4th century. Chernyakhov culture. What culture was Tesla from?
Equivalents in major religions, for example, Indra in Hinduism. He is the god of lightning, thunder, storms, rains, and river flows. Indra is the most referred to deity in the Rig Veda. He is celebrated for his powers and the one who kills the great symbolic evil Asura, named Vritra, who obstructs human prosperity and happiness. Indra destroys Vritra and his deceiving forces, and thereby brings rains and the sunshine as the friend of mankind. We are suffering under a symbolic evil. And it is obstructing our prosperity and happiness. And there are great, great deceiving forces in education, in media. If you can't see it, if you can't see what's going on, you can make this happen. You can make this happen. You believe it. You can make it happen. There are people here I know that have got a lot to offer, in this stream right now. There are a lot of people that have got a lot to offer, but you've got to let your ego go. You've got to let your ego go. You don't own this. We have to do it because I think as Ben, is it Rich from Lockheed Martin? He said there are anything you can possibly imagine we already know how to do, but it's locked up in black projects such that it would take an act of God for it to ever be released to benefit humanity. I'm paraphrasing, it's something like that. But this is known all over the world. You know, they all knew it. They all knew it. The Egyptians, the Arabs generally, the Chinese and the Indians, the Slavs and the Russians. I mean, you basically got planet Earth there. And you're going to see this everywhere. Everyone knew this technology. It's what protected them, and it's what built their everything. Their everything. Yes, David, this is for all people, and thank you for your contribution, and the being able to describe strange radiation. And I don't know whether I'm actually presenting on Wednesday to the Russian community, but it will be soon. So I need to have a really good full presentation. I'll talk about that in the coming days with you. Okay, it's gone half midnight here. So what I've done is I've written down all the questions that I didn't answer from the last presentation, and we'll go through this, and I will write down any questions that you have had or comments that you made that I think need to be addressed, and I'll maybe just do a question and answer session on those. I have some Russian presentations which speak to the what goes up must come down work that I'm doing on remoteview.icu, and there's 2 more slides to that, and it's one aspect of this technology which I think people go aha. But anyway, it needs to be laid out with all of the evidence for this to work.
Okay, so I'm going to call it a night. So thank you very, very much for your time. I really appreciate this. I don't know why you want to listen to this, but if you can do something, if there's anything you can do, some of you have been here for quite some time, and you've seen steps in the journey, and I guess we're probably about 70% through O-Day now. You can see the direction it's going in, but what I wanted to do, as I said to you in the last presentation, is I wanted to have watertight evidence across many aspects of how nature can do this, and I believe we're getting that now. And so again, I want to thank all of the researchers out there that they bust the gut in very difficult circumstances to explore this space, often with ridiculously low budgets. And I want to. It's them. My hat tip to them, because I sometimes I just feel like a Johnny come lately, and I want to thank my father again, and I want to thank my family, and especially my wife Kim, because you've put up with a lot over the last few years, and I hope that other people can come and join the journey and kind of get the message out now. So thank you, and with that I will say do svidaniya, dobranoc, good night, buenas noches, and I'll see you in the next stream.